Welcome back to SAC Qualifier 1, Round 3. We have a match that I am extremely excited for because this match is going to be DistInkt versus Triggerfish Zone Supremacy.
I am elated that this set is on our docket for today. Two very infamous teams, right? If you haven't heard of Triggerfish Zone Supremacy, what rock do you live under? The off-meta, infinite roster, just mavericks that they are, mostly made of TOs. For context, the roster on the side of Triggerfish Zone Supremacy today is Kraken Mayor, DRF, Pork, and Vapor. Kraken Mayor, the darling founder of your very own Inkling Performance Labs. DRF, the leader of the Collegiate Cephalopod Association. Pork and Vapor both having their hands in double trouble. And then on the other side, DistInkt, a team very near and dear to my heart, who recently qualified for the Legacy LAN in the UK. Both of these teams running particularly off-meta comps throughout the years, so I'm excited to see them come head-to-head here on Splatoon Zumami.
Yeah, like I said earlier, one of the reasons I love mid-level is because you really get to see these really off-meta comps pop off, probably the most out of any of the levels, and this is exactly what we're gonna see during this set. You already see some little off-color picks, which I'm super excited for. Already we're gonna be seeing bubble coming out just all over the place. We're gonna, Triggerfish Zone had the zone briefly, but DistInkt is still, very much in it. It's going to be quite contested here for a while. Looks like Zones might be getting pushed a little bit back, though.
And there we go. DistInkt is in control of the zone currently, but DRF underneath this ledge is quite a powerful force, and Mooj has their name written on their back, forced to jump out, as we do see DRF popping that cooler. Now that cooler is going to give Triggerfish Zones the tempo advantage into a coolerless comp like DistInkt, but that is certainly a disadvantage that they are very accustomed to working around. A 3v3 situation as the zone is briefly neutralized. Afro does manage to take out that anchor in the hands of Vapor, but the rest of the team is down. There's no one left to capitalize off of their skirmish before they're finally taken out.
Yeah, looks like Zones finally has their feet under them. We are going to see, them pushing forward, doing exactly what they need to do to maintain that control, but not going too far. You see Kraken showing quite a bit of restraint, just choosing a spot that's really annoying to hold, and he's staying in there as the zone just ticks down and down and down. We're going to see plenty of specials go out as DistInkt is going to be making a really good effort to get back in. They do neutralize one zone that's going to quickly be taken back by that really awesome triple splashdown. So not quite all for nothing. They did manage to push Zones out of their spawn, giving them a lot of space to work with, and they are on the up and up, but that is quite an impressive lead that they have to push back against.
Getting the pick on Vapor is huge, but can they clear DRF off of that top mid area? They do, but Afro being flanked by Kraken as he tries to take the 1v1 with Smork. The zone so close to flipping it, it finally does. DistInkt holding on as we headed towards the final moments of the game, applying some sweet, precious penalty points to buy themselves some time.
Yep. And yeah, that's just the deal is, 15 points. That's like 7 seconds that they would have had otherwise. Now they have a lot more time. They are going to be they are going to pop that Zuka, trying to get something with it, unknown if they are, as Kraken is going to be pushing in, not going to really make use of that small hitbox and avoid that Zuka shot. But as Zone Supremacy moves in again, we are going to see a few breakaway pushes, trying to distract them, trying to get any picks that they can. Afro is going to go down, and their team isn't going to get much out of that, unfortunately.
That was so intense watching Kraken, knowing that they're behind Afro as Afro tries to go in, does get the one, but not able to camp the jump because Kraken gets the pick, right? DistInkt has that inkjet to work with, and now they have the chumps. This is exactly how they recapped the zone last time. Afro has control of top mid, Smork is forced to back. This could potentially, it is a recap for DistInkt, but knowing that they have Triggerfish Zones, all these rats from every angle around the zone, it just makes it so hard for DistInkt to properly set up. But this is the first time that they have had Triggerfish Zones out of their spawn. This is the first time that DistInkt has been able to set up properly, but 2 members down in this lockout before it's even started.
Yeah, and you're seeing Zones Supremacy starting to get their specials ready. They have that bubble, they have that cooler, they have the splashdown. That's really going to make it, a lot easier for them to get back in. Now they're able to hold, with that bubble, they're able to hold that top area pretty effortlessly. Not a whole lot is going to be able to threaten them. If they do get close, they can just use their main weapon and take care of the deal, which is exactly what happened there. Zones Supremacy is already moving back in. Kraken is already moving back to the spot that they were in the first place. Is going to dodge out. Once again, they know that they don't have to push too far in. They know that if they go down, this could be disastrous for them, as we are in the final stages of this game. So really good decision making there. Really at just making sure that they're still pushing for. Oh, that's gonna be DistInkt.
The DC from Afro on the side of DistInkt is such a big deal because that's a huge chunk of DistInkt's paint and aggressive pressure gone. Zone does flip in favor of DistInkt, but now they're heading towards what they need to be an overtime comeback in a 3v4 situation that is climbing up a mountain for DistInkt, especially dealing with a rat like Kraken. Goes around, gets to pick on Sal. Mooj is alone, but what do you want your bow to do? Frontline? Potentially. Mooj is setting up a very off angle, forced to jump out thanks to the whales which know where they were. Triggerfish Zones, without a doubt, heading towards a KO here despite this brief neutral flip from DistInkt.
Yeah, and DistInkt did not stop fighting till the end. Very commendable there. It is easy to kind of, say, kind of over, but you did see them going for some really aggressive, off-the-wall plays. That is a very, last-minute scrabble to try to get that zone in their favor, even a little bit. Even if as it looks so hopeless. But the most unfortunate thing about that, I think, was that it looked like they were finally really getting their feet under them. They had finally captured the zone again. They had ticked down a few points, and then Afro disconnected. But as long as, the internet gods remain stable, we could see something a little bit different next time. Who knows?
Yeah, it is unfortunate. SAC is a global event, but most of the crowd that it does attract are EU and North American, and sometimes that does lead to some lag in internet connections, right? Unfortunately, it is something that we do have to deal with as a matter of fact with Splatoon. No, I do want to add, I do believe Triggerfish Zones would have won that game regardless. And it really did come down to how much stronger their lockouts were. DistInkt realistically was only able to send Triggerfish Zones back to their spawn once during that game, and it did cost them 2 members because of it. So never properly able to situate a lockout against a team that really wants to take advantage of a lot of wide open space. Now, I will say Afro might be the imposter. DistInkt plays a lot of Among Us in their spare time, and I mean a lot. So when it comes to having a saboteur disconnecting from the lobby, causing things to go awry, I mean, they've prepared for that in and out of Splatoon.
Something suspicious is afoot. Looks like we're gonna, stick with very similar comps here. These teams know what they're good at and are, very, They know how to play around the weapons that they choose. As we go into the zones, we're gonna see this nice neutral ground here. Triggerfish Zone is really stapling up, really square on that left side. But it looks like this decav is gonna go and get a pick and really start to catalyst things in one direction or the other. Triggerfish Zone's 2 down. They're all 2 down. It's a bloodbath out there.
But we do see that it's Triggerfish Zones. Well, I take it all back. Rafa jumps in, gets the pick on Vapor. Smork is in that bubble, but Rafa is holding a decavitator against 2 relatively short-range weapons. That's such a powerful matchup for them, but it is Triggerfish Zones that does come out of that initial engagement, a prolonged initial engagement with control of the tower and the more members alive. Sal sharking up, going to get the pick on DRF, knowing that it's just the 2 remaining members on top of that tower. That's a wipeout in favor of DistInkt. I want to add, this is an extremely practiced map mode for DistInkt. They know their retakes on here, and it is one of their best.
That's good to hear. I mean, it really is showing so far. They were able to cut off all of the aggression from Triggerfish Zone so far, and It looks like they're not going to be able to hold that for too long. Europe is going to come behind, pop a tower, pop a cooler on the tower, and start pushing it in their direction. But we do still see there are quite a few players on the map. They're going to be coming at that aggression, throwing mist, doing whatever they can to just stall that zone, going for the fights. Kraken is going to get the pick, though, and is going to continue to move in, doing exactly what Brush does best until they get picked off by the roller.
Yeah, the one-hit KO hitbox from Sal Tiger on that roller, going to easily diff the Ink Brush, but not be able to handle that splashdown. It's just Mooj left standing on that stringer. No doubt within that spawn, the whale comes out, but there's no one able to capitalize off the chip from the whale. Mooj goes down as well. That's their anchor out, down for the count. DistInkt, look at all of this paint that Triggerfish Zones has in DistInkt's court, and in their spawn as well. That's just going to be such a difficult thing for their comp in particular to fight against. DRF on that Inkling does manage to cancel that as well. It's just Afro on the top left. The Zuka is out. It does get the pick on Vapor, but DRF still able to ride this tower. We are getting dangerously close to the tank KO as DistInkt dives the tower.
Oh my goodness.
That out, but again, Kraken jumping in is just a series of jump, but Rafa, the lone squid left standing here.
Yeah, a little bit risky play there from Triggerfish Zone. Might not hurt them as very much in the long term there, because they're able to maintain control of mid here. If they weren't such a solid team in that respect, that near wipeout, that really staggered wipeout could have been devastating. But they were able to get a few extra points, and no harm, no foul. It seems they're just gonna go right back to pushing. They're just gonna keep on being the relentless team that they are and just keep moving forward.
And we do see that it's DRF on that tower. The Fizzy Bomb's going to do a great job at holding this elbow. The whale does come out. Rafa taps the tower. Smork going to be forced to drop into mid here, but the bubble used to hold that position for just a little bit longer. Sal does take that out, though. But really, the difference to me here is just the paint. The paint that DistInkt is having to run in towards, it's just giving Triggerfish Zones, again, with these routes, so much room to work with.
It sure is. They are getting a little bit more paint. They're starting to control mid a little bit more, starting push that tower. But again, that right side that Zones is controlling right now, they are very, very solid in there, and it's like a brick wall. Trying to break into that brick wall of their defense, and now they're advancing that brick wall forward. It's going to be super difficult. Although Tiger is going to really make an effort, going to pop that bubble behind, really going to try to stick a claim in mid. Is not going to work out for them, and it is going to set them a player down as Triggerfish Zones once again is just marching forward.
And they have the bubble, right, in order to be able to brute force beyond that checkpoint. I take it back. They don't have the bubble. They only have Kraken there, but God knows where the brush is. The brush is down. DistInkt has to book it. They have yet to stand on that first checkpoint, and they know it, right? Mooj on that tower. We see Afro starting to work their way into spawn. They get the pick on DRF. Now they're looking for Kraken, but Kraken does get the pick on Afro. Vapor on that top left. Kraken down. The Expo's still up. You gotta keep an eye on that Expo, because you don't want that to splash down the tower and set their team up in the last moment. Here goes Rafa with this Inkjet, hunting for any member of Triggerfish Zones that may be on that plat. We do see this bubble going to prevent Triggerfish Zones, Sal from pushing forward further into that court. A beautiful bubble coming out from Smork as Krakenmare does go in for the flank, taking advantage of that bubble in order to create some crossfire. And there is the aforementioned splashdown, bringing DistInkt's push to a brutal close and bringing us 2-0. The set falling for Triggerfish Zone Supremacy, but we will see the result of Game 3.
The controlled chaos from Triggerfish Zones in the last 30 seconds of that match was amazing to see how they fared on that defense. You saw Krakenmare going behind, narrowly avoiding death a few times, and then, their distraction really allowed, Tiger was on the tower, looking away with that roller, trying to make sure that they didn't get flanked from that brush, but that allowed the Exo to move in and just swiftly end things at the splashdown. That was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and that's the danger, right? When you start acknowledging that you are setting yourselves up for an overtime comeback. What tools is the opponent working with that is most likely to shut you down? And Vapor, a very experienced Explasher player, also a pretty aggressive one with it. So knowing that Vapor had that splashdown, they had to be dealt with. And that's a very difficult task, particularly on a map mode like Tower Control Ship Shape, where you do have to try and take both your opponent's plat and top right area. And when the tower is just breaking the first checkpoint, that is such a tall order. DistInkt really with their back against the wall there. We will see the result here of Clam Blitz, Barnacle, and Dime. Both teams sticking their same comps, I believe. I'm not expecting any changes. Correct? And it's Clam Blitz, right? We'll see how much value that the difference that DRF having that cooler brings to the table.
For sure. I believe DRF did, run the cooler last stage,
Yes.
But regardless, already one player down on DistInkt, which does mean, I've noticed Triggerfish zones is just good at forming these tight controls, zones of control they did on their snipe over there, and it just allowed them if anyone tries running them, they're gone. And so then they allow themselves to advance up. They are 2 down at this point, still kind of scrabbling, seeing who's going to get the most solid lead in the second. With that bubble, they're going to be able to just have that nice little zone of control, and now DistInkt is a little bit at a disadvantage here.
Yeah, but DistInkt has 2 specials to work with to take their snipe back. But do they know that DRF, that Slosher, is on that snipe? They did not. So that is going to take down Afro, but Mooj going to trade Afro out, knowing that they currently have Squid Advantage. It's just Vapor standing on the Expo. This is their opportunity to take this snipe that is so pivotal for holds and locks that you need in order to push. Vapor has the splashdown, takes back the snipe, running down Mooj, does use that to try and break back into mid, but Triggerfish Zones pays for that over-aggression, losing 2 members in the process, and DistInkt holding the first power claim of the game.
For sure, yeah. And as we keep on going, power clam coming in. They also, the other members have quite a few clams, especially Afro over there on the shot has 6 clams themselves. Fantastic inkjet over there, just be drawing so much aggression, and if they don't pay attention to it, they're going to be down. Zuka coming out as well. A barrier broken for the first time in this game. They're going to be all the way down to 70 points. They are down. Tiger's still over there, sharking, but it is going to get a pick, but it looks like that push is all but dead. But unlike, we've seen before, they are still maintaining that mid control, so another push might not be too far behind.
Especially with that whale that they have to work with, knowing that they need to get the members of Triggerfish off their own snipe. 3-2 situation, but again, Vapor with the splashdown. I can't emphasize it enough. It's just going to be such a pain for DistInkt to clear. There's that splashdown. It gets the pick on Afro, but Rafa left standing, hunting down that Explosher. Vapor going down with Rafa dangerously close to this inkjet. Sal with the bubble. If that gets underneath this basket, we could be looking at a situation where DistInkt extends their lead, but a beautiful flank from Krakenmare shuts down that push before it even begins. Mooj in a great position to hold jumps, but when with Vapor on that Expo just sloshing right at you, no doubt force the back there. Again, man advantage in favor of DistInkt, unbelievably so.
DRF is out for blood, but does get punished for his over-aggression there, which is does mean that DistInkt is going to be able to push in and hold that plat again, which is going to be really good for them. They have quite a few weapons that really like to sit there and hang out for a little bit, and that's going to be a great place for them to just kind of hold for a second while they are able to build their clams. 2 power clams on their side, but not a whole lot other than that, which, I mean, that's really quite a bit, but regardless, they still just have to get the specials and everything else and really start to prepare to move in as Triggerfish Zones is starting to, regain their footing, really starting to, get back out there and back into mid, start to gain more control. Kraken would be good, trying to get some attention on themselves as well. Just gonna be a little more in a neutral state right now.
I'm concerned about DRF on this bottom right side, directly behind Afro. I don't think Afro knows that they're there. Does turn, but not before their teammates do manage to get that pick. Is Zuka here clearing that top left. No doubt signaling another push for DistInkt, and that is the power clam dunk. That's 1, that's 2. Sal has enough clams in order to be able to stall this one out. Mooj having more to stall as well as Afro is sharking underneath that basket. What could they be trying to set up there? That's 12 remaining for DistInkt. They have enough clams, or they do nearly enough to KO. That's out for the last one. The tightest set so far that we have had this morning. 2-1. DistInkt walking away with that pivotal game 3.
I was excited for this one, and it turns out that premonition was correct, because that really was a great game. And that's what I'm talking about, when sometimes, like, Clan Blitz goes the exact opposite way of what, you know, the trend is. I just really enjoy seeing how different they play. Maybe that, you know, it could be the map, could be the mode, all those different things really led to, just DistInkt having a really good showing there. They were able to maintain mid so well, which isn't something that we saw from them before.
Right, and to me, it was the bow on Snipe, right? Moves just doing their best to not die in those positions, to be on either team's Snipe. If they were put into a situation where they had to back off of Triggerfish's snipe, they backed to their own. And they did their darnest to survive that. The Toxic missed on that bottom right area where we saw DRF trying to play time and time again, really did its job on that map mode in particular in ways that I don't think it could necessarily have done on Umami or on Shipshape, right? Maybe Umami in that choke point, but again, we never saw DistInkt able to get that far up to really situate a lockout. Beautiful game. I'm glad that we hit a 2-1 scoreline this morning, Reef.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always great to see once again DistInkt did a really great job. Looking forward to see how they end up, doing in the rest of the tournament because it's a great game. We do have one more match in Swiss, so we'll see, the closest match yet, maybe. As you were talking about earlier, the closer you get to the end, the closer the matches get. And that certainly did follow that rule.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to whatever set that we do have on stream next. Most of our games are finished. There are a couple of 1-1 games that we are seeing in Groups A and C. Groups A is done. Group B is done. We are just waiting on one more match here in Group C. So Reef and I will be back very shortly.
See you then.